10 years ago, a wealthy couple came to the kindergarten where I worked in search of their biological daughter. My best friend Heidi sent me away, stole my hair sample, and became the heiress of the Shen family group. On the day I came of age, the Shen family unexpectedly discovered that I was their biological daughter and took me back. They spoiled me to the heavens to make up for the years they missed. Only my green tea bitch best friend, while covering up her own crimes, stirs up trouble, wanting me to be unable to stay in this house. In order to survive, I decided to take the path of the green tea bitch, leaving her with no way out. Heidi and I were sent to the orphanage on the same day and became the best of sisters. When the Shen family came to pick up their biological daughter, Heidi lied that she had a fever, and the orphanage's medicine was insufficient, so she could only endure it for now. I ran out to get her medicine and missed the meeting with the Shen couple. When she came back, Heidi was taken away by the Shen family, and we became strangers. When we met again, it was because I accidentally encountered Mrs. Shen in a car accident. During the blood transfusion, I was told that only direct relatives could donate blood, and I was recognized again by the Shen family. When my biological father took me home, what Heidi did had not yet been exposed, and my soft-hearted parents kept her in the house. She crossed her arms and shot me a mocking glance from top to bottom. Mingji consultant, Dad, when does our family need someone to come collect the junk? Achoo, she sneezed and said in a sharp voice, so dirty and smelly, did someone just dig through the trash can? When she was in the orphanage, Heidi knew better than anyone. I am very clean. The clothes I wear are washed every day, and aside from fading and turning white, they can be considered clean and tidy. Dad, no one said I smell bad on the way here. I don't want to offend my sister. I think I should go back to the orphanage, the people there aren't so sensitive to smells. She said this with a deliberately tearful tone, pretending to leave. This is my home, and I won't leave. It's just to provoke Dad, making him care for me even more. Just like the green tea bitch knows she can't drive me away, she deliberately tries to disgust me. Dad was indeed guilty, glaring at Heidi and saying, no one else smelled it, only you have a keen nose. Are you just looking for trouble? The pet dog, a Shiba Inu, kept rubbing against my pant leg. It was simply a great assist. It's the smell on me, as if I've gotten something dirty on me. Heidi forced a smile at me, gritting her teeth, and said, Sister, I'm sorry. Well, since we've returned to the new home, we can wear better clothes now. I'll buy you. Before Dad could finish his sentence, Heidi hurriedly said, I have clothes, let my sister change in my room. My family isn't short on money, how could I let my precious daughter wear your clothes? I've already had someone prepare the latest seasonal styles from all the major brands. Heidi was once again provoked, stamping her foot and saying, aren't those the custom pieces you airlifted over? I thought you bought them for me. And these clothes are completely unsuitable. No wonder it doesn't suit me, it was originally bought for my sister. I really can't wait to see how she looks in it. This statement seemed particularly affected because it was not sincere. Outside of Dad's gaze, Heidi's expression was even more vivid and colorful. My dad, because of her words, shifted from the edge of anger to an awkward smile. Then, they continued to focus on me and took me upstairs to tour the rooms. Heidi clearly can't stand to see me happy, yet insists on following to see the dream room carefully arranged by my parents, where only Disney princesses can live. When I arrived at the specially designed dressing room, I was stunned. In the orphanage, 100 people are crammed into one room, with barely enough space to sleep, let alone room to store clothes. Heidi took the opportunity to mock me, saying, if you get so flustered over such a small thing, it would be embarrassing to go to a dinner with Mom and Dad, making a fuss. Better not take you out in the future. Dad scolded, she is my daughter, no matter how she behaves, I will generously take her out. Who dares to look down on her? With you backing me up, there's no need to fear my sister's behavior, that's what I overlooked. I was afraid my sister would be laughed at, which is why I said that, just like Dad, hoping for my sister's well-being. She trembled her lips, trying hard to make up for what she had just said. However, Mom and Dad can't be by your side for 20 hours, this black card not only has no spending limit but also proves that you are the daughter of the Shen family. Dad handed me a black card and, thinking of something, said, "This card is only for you and Heidi. Your older brothers are successful and don't need my money. As for your fraternal twin brother, he's wayward and needs to control his spending, so there's no need to give him a black card." The younger brother, in my father's words, how is he different from my perception? The year before last, the orphanage received a grant, significantly improving living conditions. Due to the special identity of the sponsor, the director did not disclose it to the public. By chance, I ran into this investor in the dean's office. It was the young man Kyle sitting on the sofa at that moment. The dressing style was extremely unconventional, with one leg crossed over the other, ignoring us who had already walked up. "I am your sister Haley. I heard you don't have a black card, let's use it together in the future." I smiled at him kindly. Kyle ignored me. Heidi laughed openly and provoked. "Dad just said he can't give this kid a black card," and sister, in order to please her brother, actually stabbed Dad in the back. "It's a pity this kid has no conscience. No matter how good you are to him, it's useless. Dad just can't give the black card to my brother because he needs to control my brother's spending, not that he won't let him spend a single penny. If I share the black card with my brother, I will also take on part of the responsibility of managing his spending, so Dad can focus more on his work. This is the pit I dug for that green tea bitch, Heidi." Heidi was so angry that her face turned red, and she could only dare to glare at me quietly. Truly my sister, unlike the imposter who only knows how to sow discord, saying I don't deserve to spend the family's money. Kyle glanced at my black card, squinted and smiled, elongating his tone as he said, "Thank you, my dear sister." "Kyle, Mom and Dad both acknowledge me, what right do you have not to acknowledge that I am your sister?" Heidi was indeed provoked, stamping her foot as she questioned. Kyle sneered and retorted, "I called my sister, did I mention you? Aren't you just being sensitive? You know better than anyone that you're just a fraud, right? Quite self-aware, aren't you? Dad, my little brother used to just hate me. After my sister came back, she started to mock me, boo-hoo." Heidi couldn't argue with Kyle and turned to her dad to cry. "With Dad, it's not about who cries being right," he said sternly. "This time I'm standing with Kyle. What's wrong with him calling Haley his sister? Before, your relationship with Kyle was not good, and I thought it was because this kid was unlikable. Now that Haley is here, how will they get along?" Dad looked at me and nodded appreciatively. "You should learn from how Haley acts as an older sister. Don't be paranoid all day, we're all family." Heidi's complaint was unsuccessful, and she became the only one at fault. She angrily returned to her room. Big brother Kate knew I was back, postponed the art exhibition, and rushed back from abroad that night. My younger brother told me that my elder brother is obsessed with traditional etiquette, so he rarely speaks at the dinner table. Dad is not around, but he often teaches my younger siblings like a father would. He is serious and strict, making me pay attention, or else I will anger my older brother. Coincidentally, I was sitting face to face with my older brother, looking at his serious face, and then at his good-looking face. I started to feel a bit scared. Dad rushed to the airport to visit Mom, who had just undergone surgery abroad, so he couldn't have dinner with us, but he specially airlifted a batch of seafood for us. There are some that I haven't even seen, let alone eaten. Afraid that my constant questioning would annoy my older brother, I tried my best to avoid dealing with complicated food. Heidi must have sensed my embarrassment, so she deliberately pushed a seafood dish I had never seen before in front of me, smiling and gesturing for me to take one. I could only grit my teeth and scoop it into the bowl. Since I couldn't manage it, I simply went to grab something else to eat. "Big brother, doesn't traditional etiquette advocate against waste?" Heidi said, and after her older brother nodded, she looked at me again and deliberately raised her voice, saying, "I remember, I will never pick up anything I won't eat in the future, to avoid waste." My elder brother instinctively looked at me. I quickly retracted my chopsticks and studied the unfamiliar creature in front of me. "I've never seen this kind of shrimp, I won't be able to handle it, right?" Heidi pretended to take the food from my plate and sighed, "We all know that a place like the orphanage won't have this, so there's no need for you to show off, sister." "It's not about showing off, it's about wanting something I've never had. Can't you see that?" Kyle interjected, retorting my words. As Heidi was about to defend herself, she was interrupted directly. "You're taking it back to give it to my sister, right? It shouldn't be just to make her feel awkward and embarrassed, should it? It needs to be peeled." Heidi didn't expect this layer, her face changing from blue to white, squeezing out words from between her teeth in response. Then he glanced at my older brother and reluctantly started to help me peel. "I'll do it." The elder brother suddenly reached out. Heidi was taken aback, then shook her head. "I'll do it myself, it's just peeling a shrimp, it's not tiring. And I also don't like to deliberately trouble others." She looked at me, the implication clear. Big brother was not moved by her thoughtfulness. Instead, he frowned and said, "I see your nails are freshly done, I'm afraid it will affect the taste of the ingredients." "Big brother." Heidi realized she had misunderstood, and with a dark expression, she handed over the plate. Next to her, her younger brother Kyle was struggling even harder to suppress his laughter, just as she, who liked to look around, noticed him and became so angry that she covered her chest and gasped for breath. After watching her elder brother's expression for a while, she tried her best to suppress her anger. The elder brother was not influenced by anyone, leisurely peeling the shrimp in front of him. The movements were gentle and delicate, the shrimp meat completely removed from the strange shell, arranged neatly on the plate like a work of art. I stared in a daze, marveling at how my brother truly is an artist. Who knew this art piece would land directly in front of me, as I looked up to meet my brother's affectionate gaze. He nodded at me and said, "Hurry up and eat." In a moment wrapped in luck, I smiled happily. "Big brother, aren't you preparing for an art exhibition recently? You need to focus on creating, right? One of your paintings is worth 100 million, if it gets damaged because of some greedy person, what a loss that would be." Heidi couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted loudly. Elder brother glanced at her and said sternly, "No talking while eating, no speaking while sleeping." That glance was extremely intimidating, leaving Heidi too scared to voice her anger. They could only stare at me with wide eyes, occasionally swallowing hard. "I guess Big Brother has never peeled shrimp for her by hand, look at how greedy she is." Heidi concealed the news of her mother's return and bought a plane ticket out of her own pocket. Then she showed off in front of Kyle and me, saying that her parents were going to take her abroad for a trip. I felt a bit down. I missed my parents for over a decade. Why do they spend more time with a daughter they've been with for so long, instead of with me? Kyle noticed that I was in a bad mood and invited me to his bar. This is the largest bar in S City, gathering the children of the wealthy elite of S City, and it also serves as a cover for Kyle's hacking career. This time, he invited me not only to relax, but also to support him in completing the new reforms for the bar. In order to promote the bar business, Kyle decided to select handsome guys to create a bar boy band, becoming a new feature of the bar. He clapped his hands, and various types of handsome men began to walk into the private room one after another. They stand in a row, considered above average among ordinary people in terms of appearance and physique. Then carefully select 8 exquisite items from inside, which look even more pleasing to the eye. But compared to the real top boy band star Kevin, it's still quite far off. When I finished my work and returned home, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. As I entered the living room, the light was very bright, and there were still people awake in the house. I had a bad feeling. After entering, I saw my parents and Heidi sitting closely together on the sofa, chatting and laughing. Until they saw us, their expressions instantly became serious, as if our appearance had interrupted their warm moment as a family of 3. Heidi held her parents tightly, tilting her head up and smiling at me proudly. "Why did you come back so late? Where have you been?" Mom asked sternly, much more seriously than Dad. Heidi handed her mother a piece of fruit, and a loving smile finally appeared on her mother's face. "Going out to play," Kyle replied cheerfully. This remark unknowingly ignited my mother's anger. She slammed the table and scolded, "You good for nothing. Not only are you a failure yourself, but you also want to lead your sister astray. How could you come back like this?" "Mom, it's me who wants to follow my brother," I chimed in. "Haley, I thought that having grown up in such a chaotic environment, you should love and strengthen yourself even more. It's one thing to come back so late, but to be mingling with so many men and going to places like bars. How old are you? It seems someone has reported me." I let out a cold laugh and looked at the culprit, Heidi. She pretended to be sympathetic and said, "Dad gave my sister a black card, and with so much money at her disposal, it's understandable that she lost herself for a moment." My sister is right. In the orphanage, even having enough to eat is difficult, let alone spending money to take a car out to see the world, unlike you all in City A who are already tired of shopping. I don't even know what a bar is, I just know it's a place I've never been to, and it feels very new. As for boys, in our orphanage, to save space, over 100 people squeeze into one room, regardless of gender. I followed Heidi's instigation and played the victim, and sure enough, my mom couldn't take it anymore. She interrupted me, pulled me into her arms, and said, "It's my fault for not taking care of you enough, and for being so harsh on you." Dad also sat next to me on Heidi's left. I was wrapped up by my parents, listening to them ask about my well-being and discussing the places they would take me to explore next. I waved to Kyle to come over and discuss together. Heidi couldn't get a word in, feeling like an outsider. After discussing this topic, Kyle did not forget the person who stirred up trouble and scolded, "What you just said about my sister not having seen the world was really harsh. Don't forget, everything you enjoy now is because of my sister, and you have the least right to say such things." "Yes, how can you say Yen hasn't seen the world? That's too hurtful, quickly apologize." Mom tightened her grip on my hand, commanding Heidi. Heidi stubbornly said, "No matter whether one has seen the world or not, one knows about propriety, righteousness, integrity, and honor. I've never seen a decent girl act so intimately with so many men, especially in a bar." She took out her phone and showed us the photo of me surrounded by 8 handsome guys. "Then do you know that the owner of this bar is me, and the handsome guy is someone I hired to attract customers, and the sister is just helping me pick out a few things?" Kyle, feeling frustrated, clarified the truth for me. He originally didn't want his parents to know about his entrepreneurial venture. Heidi bent over with laughter, "Just you? That bar is the largest in S City, the favorite social spot for the wealthy elite. Not to mention the profits, just the business or family news that gets inadvertently revealed there is worth millions. You, a high school student who hasn't even graduated, really dare to brag." Looking at Heidi's annoying expression, I think I understand. Why have my older brother and Kyle chosen to favor me, the newcomer, after she has been at home for so many years? "This is my business license, take a look." Kyle went all out and directly showed the document. Dad didn't know what he was thinking, and lowered his head in guilt. Mom was so moved that she choked up. I said, "They are all our biological sons, how can there be such a big difference?" We all misunderstood Kyle. No wonder I always received some anonymous messages before, helping the company avoid risks. Dad raised his head, solemnly patted Kyle's shoulder, and sighed, "No wonder you're my son. You started a business and didn't say it earlier, making me think you were just a delinquent, unable to treat you well." The more Heidi spoke later, the more insubstantial her words became. "It's no wonder they're not our family, treating people based on money, and still having the nerve to say it out loud," Kyle scoffed. Mom's expression darkened, and after thinking for a moment, she decided, "I thought about it, and it's that we've been giving Heidi too much money, which has led her to develop the bad habit of being greedy for money. Give me the black card, and Dad will keep it for you. Once you get rid of this bad habit, I'll give it back to you," Dad said, extending his hand. Heidi could only grit her teeth and send out the black card. Dad helped me transfer my school registration to the most expensive and best school in City A. Students who can enter this school all have their own publicly listed companies and their families. So the moment I entered the class, they began to guess my identity. When they heard the name of my original school, they instantly scoffed, filled with malice. She used to be in an orphanage, probably someone from a family took pity on her and sponsored her education. Funding is one thing, but why should she attend school with us? She's lowering our standards. Let's find a way to get her kicked out. Only Heidi in this class knows my identity. But she is lying on the desk, facing the wall, seemingly pretending to be asleep. Until a sudden gasp was heard, she instantly straightened her back, with not a trace of sleep on her face. I guessed quite accurately. I heard Kevin is coming to our school to film, and it's so lively outside. Is he here? I guess they came to see his sister Heidi. Being in the same class as Heidi, we really benefit from it. Isn't that just nonsense? Are you here to see that country bumpkin, Haley? I became a tool for others' jokes. The laughter pierced my ears painfully. She glanced at Heidi. Heidi shot me a look and then turned her gaze away, not helping me explain, and joined in mocking me. I was too lazy to listen, so I simply went out for a stroll. I bumped into someone as soon as I got up. This person was very tall, and I couldn't see his face clearly when I looked up normally. He had a faint, natural fragrance about him. Who says my sister is a country bumpkin? He cleared his throat, and his clear and pleasant voice resonated throughout the classroom. It's Kevin, it's really Kevin. I've finally seen him in person. Ah. I'm so tall and handsome, I'm about to faint. Ah. At that moment, the expressions on the faces of the entire class were vivid and varied, and the screams were endless. Kevin covered his ears, slightly bent over, and showed me a charming and warm smile. He reached out again and said, "Sister, I can only watch you here because I have things to do. Welcome back home." Looking up at him, my heart was about to leap out. So this is my second brother. The hottest idol in the hottest boy group, one song, one dance, captivates thousands of girls. He was once my idol. After 10 years, my idol turns out to be my own second cousin. What an incredible peak experience in life. Why are you in a daze? Why aren't you calling me brother? Kevin patted my head. I hurriedly shouted, "Brother." Kevin just made a sound of a huh, and the class erupted again. The classmates' face-changing skills pale in comparison to Heidi's. Heidi rubbed her sleepy eyes and caught up with me and my second brother. She pouted and said, "Sister, why didn't you tell me that second brother came?" I was asleep. When my classmate misunderstood me as a poor student, I could understand it while she was sleeping. The second brother has arrived. The screams are so loud, yet she remains unawakened, allowing others to carry her and step on her. Now, because of my second brother, I have caused the people around to be envious and scream, which made her jealous, so she woke up. The quality of this sleep really varies. You and Haley swapped at birth, which caused us and Haley to miss out on over a decade. I'm mainly here to see her today. We've been together for so long, there's no need for a special trip. Kevin's tone was calm, but the people in the class were not at ease. They excitedly discussed the incredible secret in front of the person involved. We previously speculated about Haley's identity. Why doesn't Heidi come out to explain? I thought it was because she was unhappy about having an extra sister, but it turns out it's hard for her to admit that she's a fraud. Heidi is so lucky, a wild chicken turned into a phoenix, her worth is higher than ours. Why is that? Haley has quite a good character, not minding that Heidi occupies her own identity and driving the imposter away. Heidi was so embarrassed and angry that her face turned red. She glared at Kevin and said, "Second brother, Mom and Dad said they would treat me and Heidi equally. What you're saying is trying to go against their wishes and kick me out of the house, right? If you don't help me smooth this over, I'll go back and tell Mom and Dad, and they'll have the perfect excuse to make you change jobs." I was so furious hearing this, let alone the person involved, my second brother. Perhaps having heard more malicious words from the haters, the second brother not only did not get angry but also replied slowly, "Mom and Dad asked you to introduce Heidi's identity to your classmates, yet you also went against their wishes, playing dead and letting your classmates mock Heidi, didn't you?" Heidi was at a loss for words. After a moment of calm, she forced a smile and said, "Second brother, I was just joking. Why are you so serious? Then, shamelessly clinging to me and Kevin, the mosquitoes buzzed like a reminder, struggling with us. Second brother, do you want everyone to think our family is not harmonious, giving your haters material? That's enough. Second brother directly shrugged off her hand, wearing an expression of better to be a shattered jade than a complete tile. Coldly said, my relationship with you is not good, they only need to write the facts, and I care even less. Sister, I'm going to work first. Let's have dinner together in the evening. Only then did she turn to me, suppressing the disdain, revealing a charming and warm smile, which caused another round of screams from the class. After Erga left, the class started betting on when this imposter, Heidi, would be kicked out of the house. Heidi takes the most pride in her studies, so ever since I returned, she has been studying even harder and more diligently. She was so angry that she didn't come to class all afternoon. After school, Heidi didn't mention what happened at school. On the contrary, their attitude towards me is unusually good. At the dining table, she would serve me dishes, pour me drinks, and praise me for being well liked at school. I understand in my heart that she can't be so kind. Just after finishing the meal, she revealed her intentions. Holding the report card with the top grades, I belittled the assumption that my school performance was poor. Because my previous educational resources were indeed poor, my parents shared the same opinion as her. Actually, I perform very well in school, so well that the teachers are afraid of burying my abilities. I asked a friend to find the teaching videos from my current school, and from time to time, I synchronized their exams, scoring full marks every time. I have seen Heidi score, she is 50 points away from a perfect score. But I am not the kind of person who likes to show off, I just want to let the facts speak for themselves, so I didn't refute Heidi. Heidi insisted on tutoring me, refusing to let go. When I took out my completed homework to show her, she suddenly flew into a rage, calling me a stupid pig and saying I had no understanding of studying at all. These harsh words brought Mom and Dad over. Heidi cried and explained, these questions the teacher has gone over in class n times, you could say they've been broken down and fed to the students. Anyone who listened carefully wouldn't get them wrong. But my sister still messed it up completely, which means she either didn't listen in class or didn't understand. I taught her a few times, and she still argued with me. I was so frustrated at that moment that I reacted this way. A long string of pitiful lies successfully deceived my parents. My parents used the example of online tutoring for children struggling with their studies, saying that Heidi didn't have bad intentions, she was just a bit anxious and urged me to study well. Only I know that this question is new, the teacher has never explained it. But I can't just call the teacher to confront them right now, after all, it's after work hours. Pursuing it later would make me seem like I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Just when my older brother was there, I asked him to help us with the questions. Haley did the right thing. A few short sentences made Heidi so embarrassed that she almost ruined her exam paper. But getting Heidi, this stubborn girl, to compromise is harder than ascending to heaven. She stubbornly retorted, Big brother, how many years has it been since you left high school? Your knowledge is likely all mixed up. I'll video call the teacher and have her evaluate what's right and wrong. The teacher has already finished work, ask again tomorrow, it's not a big deal. I reminded. Heidi directly mocked, if you're feeling guilty, just say it, don't use the teacher as an excuse. Then she picked up the video call and dialed, but the teacher didn't answer, so she called frantically again. Her parents couldn't stand it anymore and tried to persuade her to stop midway. She was obsessed and wouldn't listen at all, until she finally got through to the teacher's phone. The teacher had no choice but to put down what was in hand and find the test paper to solve the problems. In the end, the result was the same, I was right. I thought Haley would have a hard time adapting to our rhythm since she just transferred here, but I didn't expect her to perform so well. That's amazing. I've explained this knowledge many times, someone with such a good foundation like Heidi shouldn't make mistakes. With someone at home to study with, it's inevitable to feel a sense of comparison. One should approach learning with humility and confidence, keeping it pure. In fact, the teacher usually doesn't talk much and pays great attention to personal feelings. At this point, saying so many suggestive things is probably because Heidi has gotten her so worked up. Heidi hung up the phone, and her parents, who initially thought this was just a minor issue, looked more somber than the water of a cold pond. Heidi, your mindset is very poor. There are always people better than you, and there are skies beyond the sky. It's completely normal to not measure up to others, you. Dad's earnest and lengthy teachings were not yet finished, and Heidi broke down. She tore up the test paper and glared at me fiercely. I am the top student in the whole school, how could Haley possibly compare to me? I'm not jealous of her at all, the exam is coming soon, just wait and see. From then on, she rarely spoke to us, burying herself in her studies every day, even skipping dinner at the same table with us. The exam results are out. I ranked first in the whole school, and Heidi ranked second. Heidi's grades have always been stable, so as long as her performance doesn't plummet, no one pays much attention. But in everyone's eyes, I came from a place that ranked at the bottom in educational resources, so my foundation should be very poor. Now, unexpectedly achieving first place immediately caused a stir throughout the entire school. My classmates surrounded me, discussing my comeback. Heidi, this is what they call silent until suddenly astonishing. She is so far behind Heidi, yet she can catch up, a true master among masters. Do you know there is something called genes? The three brothers of the Shen family are all very good at studying, how could Heidi be any worse? Ha, a counterfeit is just a counterfeit. They said these words just to enjoy the spectacle, now everyone is looking at Heidi. They are all hoping that Heidi and I will fight. Heidi is very jealous, and I started to worry about how she would torment me again. But this time it completely exceeded my expectations. She not only wasn't angry, but also took the initiative to come over and hug my shoulders. The tsundere said, my sister got first place, I got second, and you guys at the back just know how to gossip all day, no wonder your grades are so poor. The provocateur's face turned red from being rebuffed, and they immediately dispersed, no longer daring to discuss our matters. So has Heidi changed her ways? When she got home, she was also like this, not competing or fighting, accepting her own results. She sat down with us for dinner again and took the initiative to start a conversation. Mom and Dad, our exam results are out. Oh, how did you all do on the exam? Dad, after all, was concerned about Heidi, forgetting the previous matters and asking with care. Heidi smiled sweetly and replied generously, second in the whole school. Oh, second in the whole school, my baby is amazing. Mom cheered. Heidi said again, can you guess who is the top of the whole school? When she asked this, I felt a chill run down my spine, fearing that she was hiding some bad news to spring on us later. It's my sister. She raised my hand and announced loudly, then looked at me with starry eyes, sister, you're amazing. I was too arrogant before, I'll learn more from you in the future. I'm fine. With that attitude, I almost thought she had been reborn. It was only after a series of her actions that I realized I had read too many novels. Green tea, once washed and dried, is still green tea, it is irreversible. 7 days later, the school issued a notice that the exam papers had been stolen, and everyone's monthly exam scores were invalidated. Then I was called to the principal's office. There was also a short, chubby boy named Heiress who was called in. He voluntarily admitted that he had stolen the exam paper, but insisted that I had instructed him to do so. But I don't know this boy at all. But he found our Skype chat history, which was very ambiguous, and we were already in a relationship. Then, taking advantage of Idris's feelings for me, he encouraged him to help me steal the exam papers. I haven't used Skype for a long time, now I only use Facebook. I presented the facts and speculated that my account had been hacked. The principal brought in someone who understands computers, and it turned out that my Skype login IP was from the computer I'm using now. This completely baffled me. But seeing the motive behind my attempt to steal the exam paper, I roughly understood what was going on. I mentioned in the chat record that I am jealous of Heidi for studying better than me, so I asked my older brother and teacher to help me perform better in front of my parents. I was afraid my exam results would be exposed, so I instructed Idris to help me steal the test paper. So it was Heidi who secretly used my computer. But I still have no evidence, so I can only ask the principal to give me a few days to investigate. However, this matter had not yet been classified by the school when it was posted on the campus forum, sparking heated discussions. I said, "How can someone who grew up in an orphanage come here and immediately rank first in the whole school? Isn't that tarnishing our school's reputation? The Shen family is the major shareholder of our school. They are willing to ruin their own reputation for the sake of their biological daughter, regardless of our lives. I lost my daughter myself, and now I want to make up for it. Why should we be a part of their play? Clearly, it's a personal matter of mine, but it has been escalated to involve the entire Shen family. Just so happens, my second brother is in the entertainment industry, with countless haters. This matter was once again brought to the trending searches, and due to the popularity of the second brother, the heat skyrocketed. Kevin's sister plagiarized, and a large number of netizens strongly demand an investigation into the Shen family group. Relevant comments, whether from the company's hired commenters, the haters of the second brother, or genuine netizens, all express resentment and dissatisfaction towards our Shen family. Can a person who indulges his daughter in privileges manage a company well? The Shen family group is in real estate, and there must be quite a few unfinished buildings under their control. Investigate it for me. If you're not family, you don't enter the same door. This Kevin is not a good person either. The only top student persona in the group, his academic credentials are probably fabricated by his parents. I hope the relevant authorities investigate this quickly. Soon, the relevant departments, in response to everyone's strong demands, sent people to the company overnight to investigate the Shen family's accounts. My brother's hacking activities were also implicated. The family has been busy for several days, working non-stop, and finally managed to gather together for a meal. Mom and Dad, this matter in our family is really simple to handle. If you keep this up, you won't be able to take it. Heidi's words drew all our attention to her. She glanced at me and continued, "This whole thing actually started because of my sister's plagiarism. Fortunately, my sister hasn't lived at home for the past 10 years. Regardless of whether the plagiarism is true or not, the most important thing is to find an excuse to distance myself from her. How do you clear your name? And what happens after you clear your name?" The younger brother glared at Heidi, his tone extremely rude. Heidi still didn't realize, and said to herself, "Just say that my sister wasn't raised by the Shen family, and we didn't know she would do such shameless things, and then announce that my sister is being expelled from the Shen family. Then quietly send my sister abroad, never to return, and then calm everyone's anger." So the purpose of doing such a sordid thing was this? Xinjiang is clean, and checking the accounts is just a bit tiring, but there's nothing to worry about. No matter how much netizens speculate, as long as our company has no issues after the audit, we can continue to operate. Dad spoke first, to express his stance. Elder brother followed up, "My accounts can also be checked at will. The family values are such that even dogs wouldn't engage in tax evasion. I'm not afraid of being investigated either," second brother said firmly. Kyle saw my guilty and worried expression and quickly explained, "Because of my special ability, I was recruited to specifically defend the official platform against hackers." As they said this, the seemingly chaotic home appeared to regain its calm. Heidi's judgment of me became the only anomaly at this table, and thus, I received no good looks from anyone. Even Heidi's mother, who had the strongest feelings for her, frowned and said, "Heidi, you are being too obvious about Haley." Heidi had nothing to say, and she poked the chopsticks in the plate several times. It seemed she really couldn't swallow her anger, so she found an excuse to leave. As I passed by, she spoke softly, "If you don't get out of this house, you will kill everyone." She wasn't wrong in saying that. The next day we woke up to find the safe at home had been robbed, and it contained confidential company documents. She believed that this family favored me and targeted her, so she took the confidential documents and sought refuge with the rival company, obtaining a large sum of money. He also sent us a message: once the Shen family is defeated, I will be the richest person in this family. Confidential documents usually contain company passwords. If a rival company obtains them, they can allow hackers to infiltrate the company's system, disrupt operations, steal information, and in just a few hours, bring a company to its knees, leading to its closure. However, this was the trap I designed with Kyle when I discovered that Heidi had contact with the rival company. The password is still the original password, but Kyle changed its function. Once entered, it will allow a virus to invade the other person's computer. Heidi was sentenced to life imprisonment for theft and involvement in economic crimes. Once this matter got out, the small incident of my plagiarism also fell apart on its own. The misled netizens apologized to us. The Shen family also took this opportunity to prove to everyone that this is a rare and excellent company, with stock prices rising and market value soaring. Only I went to see Heidi, and she has already become somewhat mentally unstable. A young girl who had just come of age became a tool in the business war simply out of jealousy and foolishness. This was something she never expected, and neither did we, the Shen family. Heidi, Dad's password is your birthday. Later, when I came back, they just added my birthday to the original password. They truly accepted you and regarded you as a daughter, but you didn't have the chance to cherish it. After finishing the last thing, I felt relieved and exited the visiting room. Not far away, I could hear Heidi's sobs rising and falling. In this world, some mistakes may seem small, but they can lead to irreparable consequences that cannot be atoned for or compensated. So no matter what age, in doing anything, one must learn to think twice before acting.